In this video, you're going to learn about the basic organization or structure of Registry. And to do this, we're going to use a program called Regedit, which you can run yourself. But before we do that, let me just give you a warning. Registry is a database that Windows uses, and it's currently using it. So this is located in memory. We're looking at currently what's in memory. And if you change things or you mess things up, you can make it so that the machine doesn't work. You can make it so it doesn't boot. You can make it so it doesn't work. And unless you can get back in there and refix it, you can totally mess things up. So unless you really know what you're doing, I would not change things. You can look all you want, just don't change things. Okay, with that warning, let's show you how to run Regedit. So you'd go down to the Windows Start button, and then you could type Regedit, and then just click on this to start it up. Okay, so that's running it, just Windows Start Regedit. And then let's look at the data that we have in here. I'm sorry, let's look at the top level folders. So these things are actually called hives. They look like folders, but they're actually hives, because again, these aren't things we have on the disk. These are things structured in memory. So we have the 5 main hives, although there's really only 3. And you notice all these start with H key, which stands for hive key. And then we have the different names out here: classes root, current user, local machine users, and current config. So if we want to get at any particular piece of data, someone's probably going to tell us a path here within Registry. So they're going to say something like H key local machine. So to get to it, we would click on this to expand that. And then they're going to say it's under, next thing is software. And then they're going to say it's under Microsoft. And again, I've already expanded this one. And then they're going to say it's under Windows, so we'd have to go down to the Windows folder, and then I say folder, but it's really not a folder, right? And then they're going to say current version, and then they're going to say whatever it is, audio or BitLocker, things like that. So to get to any particular thing, you're just going to start at, think of it as a path, right? Directory path, but it's not. But that same kind of thing. They're going to tell you where to start, and you just drill your way down until you get to what it is you need to get to. Then once you get to any individual piece of, or any individual, again, I'm going to say folder, but it's not a folder, you're going to see the actual data associated with that over here in the right pane. And these pieces of data, again, have different names, and again, people are going to tell you to look at this particular one or this particular one. And then what we really want to look at is the data value, which is over here in the third column. This middle one tells us what type of data is this, and I can't remember all the different types. So there's, most of these are D words, which as this chart shows are numbers from 0 to 2 to the 32nd power. And then we can also have bigger numbers if we want. We can have binary numbers. We'll see a lot of this SZ things, which are 0 terminated strings. So those would just be strings. So anyway, let's look at some specific data. But you notice this stuff is actually, looks like URLs on this particular one. So again, to get this to this particular piece of data, I'm going to have to know the path to get down to this specific thing. And so most of the time we're going to be in here just reading stuff, right? We're going to find this particular piece of data. If you ever do want to do the editing, what you're going to do is right-click on this and then say Modify. And this is where you want to be real careful, because you could mess things up if you don't know what you're doing. So I'm just going to hit the Cancel button to get out of this. But if I really wanted to change it, I would do this one. We could also, you notice, delete keys or rename keys, but again, be careful with that. Only do this if you know what you're doing. Okay, so that's how to find a particular piece of data within this or particular key. Now let's look at what, again, these 5 main hives or folders. So the first one is called classes root, and this is stuff about applications. There's not a lot of user stuff in here. So I'm not going to go into great detail here, but I'll just show you a little bit of this. This is where we keep track of like file associations. You know, in the real world, and we've seen this with FTK, when we're looking at files, we don't just look at the file extension. We look at the file header within the file to figure out, or the file signature to figure out what the file type is. But Windows uses the extension, and the user can set up different associations with those extensions to say, when you click on this extension, here's the program that I want you to run. And where is that stored? Well, it's stored here within this hive. So like for WMV files, which are the Windows movies, we can see things like this. Here's the actual content type is this MIME type. And if you don't know about MIME types, you can read about that. And then we have this open with list. Here's the different programs that we might open this with, and when somebody clicks on it. And so we're going to have an entry in here for every file extension that Windows knows about. And if you install a program that does uses its own extensions, like this Real Audio extension, well, when we install this, or when you install the Real Audio player, it puts this information into Registry. So anyway, the big thing you need to understand about this is this hkey underscore classes underscore root. This contains information about programs. Now let's look at two of these. There's hkey users and hkey current users. And these are really, it looks like two separate hives, but it's really kind of the same thing. So let's look at users first. And what this has is information about any user that's ever logged onto this machine. So if multiple people are using the machine, we'll keep track of their information in separate areas within this. And these things are broken up by, this is called an SID. And each user is going to have its own unique SID, and we'll show you later on how to figure out what the login name is and associate a login name with an SID. But you notice within, for this SID, we keep track of the application events, console, environment, all this stuff. But for this one, we also keep track of the same thing. But again, this main hive up here keeps track of this information for every user. Then current user is the same information, and let's open up one of these again. It's the same information, except the difference is this is for whoever is currently logged on. So in this case, this is me. And really, I've got the same information down in here. And I don't know which of these SIDs is me, but the point of this is this key, current user, is really just a shortcut down into one of these folders. So it looks like these are actually two different main level keys, but really it's just one. It's really just this one, and this one is a shortcut down into the information for the currently logged on user. And then there's a similar relationship between local machine and current config. So local machine is the hardware and software things, so not the user things, but operating system stuff, application configuration information, all that stuff for anything that's ever been connected to this machine. So in particular for hardware, any USB device that's ever been plugged in, any printer that's ever been connected, or maybe have a laptop that has uses one monitor when I'm docked and a different one when I'm not docked. All that information for any configuration we've ever done is here in local machine. And then current config is the same information, except it's just what is currently connected, or what are we currently using. So again, it's this is what is currently going on versus anything that's ever happened on the machine. Okay, so that's just a brief overview of what's going on with these different hive keys and a summary of what they contain. And again, there's a lot here, right? And if I was a really good teacher, we'd go through and memorize every key and what's in it, right? But I don't think there's anybody that knows everything about every key, just because, like I said, any application can write their own stuff in here. There might be people at Microsoft that know a lot about this, but again, there's just so much user stuff and so much system stuff, nobody knows it all. What you want to know, again, is kind of the main hives. How are they organized? But that's it for this video. We'll see you in the next one.